Hello everyone, welcome back to TIA. I'm your regular host, and today I'm a bit, I'm not very happy to do this vlog, but I'm also happy at the same time because I think I might be able to reach out to someone or maybe help somebody understand what they're going through. I'm doing this particular vlog, which I never do middle of the week, because I've seen a few videos circulating on social media, particularly on WhatsApp, Facebook, not as much as Instagram, but Facebook and WhatsApp predominantly. And it's a very disheartening video. And that's why I've chosen to do this topic today. And this topic I'm going to be sharing or analyzing with you is peer pressure. Peer pressure means a lot of things. Peer pressure can be experienced across the board by both adults and children. Today I want to try and look at both sides of the situation, which is in children and also in adults. And I'm going to be drawing examples, similarities from my own personal experience, how it marred my life, how it defined my history, because if I'm going to talk about my life, my history, or whatever I've been through in life, I would have to touch on that, which somehow formed who I am today. Right, peer pressure. I'm not sure what connotation most Africans give to peer pressure, or how we as Africans take peer pressure in, especially when you notice a bit of changes amongst your children. Let me just try and sum it up the best way I can. Peer pressure, for me, from my understanding, is when a child or a person suddenly feels like there's a need, a deep, innate need to belong or to be identified with a certain thing. They may need, or they may feel the need to be identified by clothing or a way of life or a certain substance intake, in which case I'm talking about drug addiction now. I'm talking more towards drug addiction, and in terms of acquisition, which might be material things. Some people might feel that unless I have this sort of outfit, this sort of car, or this amount of money in my bank account, then I haven't arrived, or I don't belong. So there are different forms of peer pressure, let's just be clear. But on the level of children now, when our children, go out and mix with other children, we don't know what they do. We don't know what they get up to. All we can account for is what they do in our homes, in our houses, before our own very eyes. Now, I was listening to a conversation on my way to work one morning, and it was about a girl. She's obviously from biracial background, and she was sharing her experiences. And it's sort of like, it urged me to, one of the reasons, after listening to that girl talking, I decided that, I'm going to do a vlog on this, and that's why I'm doing this again. Our children, we know them as far as we know them in the home. We know what they are in the house. We know how they behave when you ask them to go on errands. We know what they're like when they're upset, or when they're giving you all that. They're being, naughty and all that kind of stuff in their house, or being silly. Now, when they go out with their friends, amongst their friends, particularly here in the United Kingdom, we live in Britain, and we know for a fact that the British people behave in a certain kind of way, and their understanding and their reactions might be different to we Africans. Now, when our children go out and mingle with the British people, the environment, the geographical environment where they live in, we have no control over what they take in and what they will not take in. We have no control over how they react or what messages they take in from the outside world. The only thing we have control over is how we raise them, is the morals we put into them, is the messages we drum into their heads in the home. I can't emphasize this enough, Africans. What you emphasize, what you teach your child in your home, the message you drum into your child when you're indoors with them, that's what's going to go with them into the outside world, and that's what's going to help them, withstand whatever struggles, whatever decisions they may make. Obviously, your children are going to have their own experiences, but by and large, the message the message, the influence you have on your child as a mother, as a father, you know, as a foster parent, as a guardian, is what will help that child to a very large extent, you know, choose the path he or she would go. The other thing is this. The reason why I keep going on about us Africans, Nigerians, Africans in general, is because when we come abroad, we tend to forget our history. We tend to forget our culture, where we're coming from. We have a culture, we have an identity, we have roots. And in as much as our experiences over time will make us or break us, we must never forget our history. We must never forget our traditions, our culture. Some of them, for me, for example, now, I've taken what I want to take from the African culture, and I've taken what I want to take from the Western world, and I've merged both, and I've found my balance, and that works for me. I don't know what works for you. If you want to take everything you've learned as an African and you believe that works for you fantastically, by all means, whatever rocks your boat. If you want to be all Western and you want to forget about your Africanness, forget your African tradition and culture, if that works for you, fine. But that's for you. Remember, your children would need guidance. And I believe that no matter how prude or how backward you might think the African culture sometimes may appear to be, the African culture always keeps you grounded. The African tradition helps you to stay grounded. That you cannot dispute. You know, I stand to be corrected, but I know, as far as I'm aware, the African culture tradition, some of it, the ones I've taken, respect. You know, respect is one of those things I've taken from the African culture, which, even though we know that the Western world understands the word respect, but how far does the Western culture, you know, go to actually show respect? You know, how far, you know, does it actually promulgate respect as opposed or juxtaposed with the African culture? If you look at both ways, you can see which ways imbibes the word respect more. I feel from my own research personally that the African culture, you know, emphasizes and places a lot on respect and a lot on elders, knowing who your older ones are, you know, being able to relate to your elders in a certain way, and also obviously in a certain way, not with respect, of course, but there's a particular way you expect it to understand and remember that that person is older than you, albeit by a year or 2 years or a few months, you know. So I don't want to go too much on that. What I want to delve in more is this. When our children go out of home, they're out and about, mixing with children, going to school, going about their business. Sometimes you find that these children are a bit confused. In the house, they're Africans, or they're Jamaicans, or they're Kenyans. At home, with their family, with those they know, they're familiar with, they're who they're meant to be. But the minute they step outside of the door of home, comfort zone, who are they? What do they become? Can you vouch for your children or your child when they're out of your door? Do you know, if I gave you an example, or I played you a scenario of what a child would do when they were upset, or how a child would react if somebody said this to them, could you, hands on your chest, say, oh, my child will not do this, oh, my child can do this, oh, my child has tendencies to say this or use such words? Can you honestly beat your hands on your chest and say, I know the extent to which my child would go? That's where I'm coming from. And that's where I want to look at. These children sometimes out on the streets, they're confused. There's a mild form of confusion for some, and for others, it might really be a really big deal of confusion for them. Are they going to carry on behaving as an African child in public amongst their friends? Would they be laughed at? Would they be looked upon like, dude, what do you think you're doing? Or, hang on, mate, what's going on here? You're not the same person you were yesterday. Do you think the children will be looked upon like that? Do you think the children might want to belong to their British counterparts on the streets, at school, on the playground? Do they want to be all British like their friends? And you cannot fault children who want to become British, because that's all they know. They live in Britain. They're bound to behave like their friends. Not as much as copying them, but that's all they know. Remember when I did my last video, I talked about social factors. The environment which a child grows up plays a lot. And in this part of the world, in Britain here, our children are growing up here as Africans amongst, the Brits, and they will pick up behaviors, patterns, languages, and whatever you have, they have as British people. They will pick all of that up. Your job, my job, is to attune and align what they pick up to fit into your Africanness. I want to make sure that my child, no matter what he learns at school, no matter how he speaks to his British teachers at school, I need him to understand that while you're relating to them, you have to let your Africanness, the respect I put in you, the values I put in you, the groundedness I want you to be, you must let that show in the way you relate to your teachers. And I tell you something, those teachers will spot the difference in that child. I remember when I moved into an area in Essex, my child was about 7 or 8 years old then, and we didn't know anyone in the estate. So he wanted to make friends, and luckily he saw a child who looked like they were in the same school together. So he went over, he asked me if he could go over and, see this child. He was 7, he was 8, he was still quite little, but I couldn't obviously keep him indoors all days with me. So I let him go and knock on the door and all that. I said, go on, knock on the door, introduce yourself, and let me know, how you get on. So I was watching from a distance, from my balcony. And he went off, stayed with them, they let him in. And by evening time, about 5, 6, I went to fetch him. And I knocked on the door, I introduced myself. And the mother said to me, oh, is that your son then? I'm like, yes, that's my child. He goes, oh my God, are you from around here? And I'm like, yes, we are. We've only just moved in. And she said, and I'm like, is there a problem? She says, no problem. It's just that he's so different. I'm like, what do you mean different? He says, he's so well behaved, very respectful. When he came to my door, he knocked, says, please, can I see? He used his may I, can I? And, he didn't even come in. I said to him, yeah, come inside. He was you could just tell he was different. I knew he was different. And I smiled. People see these things. They may not come to you straight up, but people, the non-Africans, people who are not African, they see these things, they recognize these things, and they admire these traits. So if you want to raise your child to be all British and forget that he's African and forget the very essence of what he is in his DNA, if that makes you happy, by all means, go ahead. But if you feel like me, that no matter what this child picks up in his environment, I still need him to show that bit of him that is silent in his DNA, and that's the African in him. Because whether he tries to disguise it or not, somebody will remind him one day, you are African, you're black. Somebody's bound to say something or remind him directly or indirectly that you're actually an African. And that's not a bad thing. We need to prepare that child to take it in with a smile, take it in and embrace it and explain to them what it means to be African and that it's okay to be African. Now, moving from that, you find out that children also want to identify, they want to belong. Growing up in Africa as well, in my case, I had friends, so during the summer holidays or, when school's on holiday, we'll go to each other's houses, so if we're not in this person's house, we'll be in that person's house, or, we would always be in each other's houses, and our parents knew where to find us. So if we had other friends or people looking for us, they'll say, oh, go to Mary's house. She's at Mary's house. You find her there. Or you go over to Ade's house. She's at Ade's house. You find her over there. So our parents knew where we were, and they knew the kind of families we had as friends. So we were okay to, fraternize and associate with these people. Now, over here in this part of the world, most times you find out that you don't even know who your children's parents are. You don't know who their mothers are. You don't know who their fathers are. By knowing, in quote, I mean, know them properly. You don't know what their values or how they're raising their children. You probably see them at school and go, hello, hi, good morning. But that's as much as you know of them. I do not allow my children go to families or friends' houses where I haven't met their parents properly or formally, and I haven't spent time in the mother or father's company to know and ascertain whether or not I want my child to be influenced by these people's friendship or company. This is my take on things. Now, there are children who I know for a fact, due to peer pressure, want to be identified with a clique of children or want to be identified amongst a group of other children, and this group might be the happening ones, the ones that wear the best trainers or the latest trainers, or the ones that have the best, for girls, they have the best hair extensions, you know, they look really sassy. You want to be in that group of, you know, friends and have them as your girlfriends. There's several reasons why children are attracted or drawn to a group of people, a group of girlfriends, or a group of guy friends, boyfriends. There are different factors. One might be that, oh, these girls seem to wear, you know, makeup. You know, that could be as little as, oh, they wear makeup and they act like big girls. They're very matured for their young age. You might want to be in that, you know, clique of friends. You might want to, you know, get closer to them. Just something as simple as that. And by doing that, you see that your child now suddenly maybe wants to start trying out makeup, wants to, you know, take makeup to school just so she can be, you know, initiated or integrated in that clique of friendship. Or you find that your son suddenly starts making demands off of you, mom, I want those trainers, or I don't want Primark trainers anymore. He doesn't want to wear the Primark trainers you buy for him. Suddenly he wants you to go to JD Sports, or he wants you to go to Food Asylum to get him the latest pair of trainers. You're like, hang on, what happened to the Primark I bought for you 2 weeks ago? Just last month, oh, mom, I don't want them, I don't want them. Suddenly he wants high-end, you know, range of trainers. You know, I'm not saying that the children cannot on their own accord decide to suddenly up their games or up their likes, you know. I'm not saying that at all, but when a child starts coming with such demands, you need to look closely as a parent, as a guardian, as a foster carer, or, you know, as an auntie, whatever your position or your role as an adult is in that child's life. You need to look closely, because I have heard too many stories and I've seen too many things start off in that way and escalate because we as parents did not do enough at the early stage to nip it in the bud. Now, sometimes I have heard of stories where a child, in wanting to have an identity, you know, at home you'll be your uncles, your aunties, your mom, your sisters, your dad, you're African, you know them. But what you find at home, the comfort, the belonging you have at home, you go in school and you can't fit in. There are children who are not able to fit in. They're not sure where they belong. They're struggling to fit into this group of friendship, or they find it very hard to form friendship. And then you see them slowly becoming, you know, loners. They can't fit here, they can't fit there. They're so, you know, they become inclusive, and, you know, they segregate themselves from other friends. And slowly, these are the sort of children who become very angry and, you know, very highly, they become, you know, very irritable. Very little things, they get angry because, you know, they feel a sort of anger in them. And if anyone or any other group suddenly picks on him and says, come on, join us, they will gladly, willingly jump into friendship with that group without even, you know, understanding that this group may not even be right for you. Or they might be the sort of children that, because you see them all the time alone, they're loners, they're walking home alone by themselves. I'm talking about children in secondary schools now. You know, they become easy targets for maybe drug peddlers. They become easy targets for, you know, bullies to pick on them. They could be easy targets for any group of children who have a certain, you know, clique. I just want us as parents to be on the lookout for this sort of peer pressure. It comes masked in so many ways. It comes disguised in so many ways. Even you find one particular friend that your child may have who happen to be this nice, cute, well-behaved boy, you know, cheerful, chirpy child. And when that child is not around your own child, he hangs out with other people who obviously are bad influence to him or her. But because you haven't met your child in that group with him or her, you still carry on and allow that child to be friends with your own child. I tell you, that's when your alarm bell should start ringing, because that child will go and pick up information, things from that group, and bring it to your own child. And that could influence your child. And before you know it, your child is suddenly becoming more inclined to want to hang out with that child, who would eventually introduce your child or that child to the other group who are out there, who are no good. So peer pressure is a very serious thing in my understanding. And I'm saying this today because I heard a story about a girl. This was a girl who happened to fall into the hands of gangs. She became a gang member and suddenly, you know, recruited other girls into this gang, and slowly, you know, they were passed around by other male gang members. You know, they passed them around for sexual gratification. They were being groomed. And these are girls, and when they go back home, in their African backgrounds, they become normal. You know, they're normal. You don't suspect anything. But when they're out there, the confusion in their heads, which is, well, do I carry on with, you know, the way I'm at home, or do I just blend in with the crowd? You know, and these are my friends, these are my mates. Do I just do what they do? You know, children sometimes battle with this confusion in their heads, and it's always good to talk about these things when they come back from school. So who are your friends? Who did you hang out with? How did your day go? What happened at school? You need to sort of like, you know, prompt them to talk about their days, you know, in school. And for parents who work, you need to find that time, parents. If you're one of those workaholic parents, you need to take that moment. I'm not sure how you want to do it, but you must find that time to break the cycle. I mean, you need to find a way to reach out to that child and be more, you know, be more attuned to what is going on with him or her life at school, amongst their friends and stuff like that. Now, let me go into the adult stage now. I've said enough about children and, you know, peer pressure and all those kind of, you know, influences. Now, in terms of adults, there are women out there who over the years as children haven't quite come to acceptance or accepting who they are, what they are. You know, over the years as children, they probably had very low self-esteem, and they've carried this into adulthood. And low self-esteem can manifest in so many ways. It could manifest in you being a very unfriendly person. It could manifest in you being someone who tells a lot of tales about other people. It can manifest in you as having very low you know, inferiority complex, whereby you want to pull everybody down just because you're not like people around you, or you're not like a particular friend. You want to tear that friend down. You want to keep, you know, the thing is, you find such women or adults getting close to other female friends or even male friends, but deep down their heart, they're not very pleased. They're not happy with themselves. The unhappiness is not from the friend or whatever the friend has done. The unhappiness is deeply seated, is deeply rooted in the fact that they haven't actually, you know, dealt with the insecurity in them. You know, and I see women all the time either bickering at each other for absolutely no reason. I mean, there's a video going viral about two friends who've gone on to actually, you know, have physical altercations. And these are parents, these are daughters. It breaks my heart that Nigerians, Africans, we allow certain issues, very trivial things, to escalate so quickly. You know, words, we've got to be careful how we use words. Words are very hurtful. Words can be very heavy, and words, when once said, cannot be taken back. You can apologize, you can do everything to show your sincerity, but sometimes what's done's done. So you find women who are very insecure. You find men also who are quite insecure, and their insecurity can be manifest or can be seen in the way they relate to their women. They become abusive, either verbally or in their behaviors, and the women themselves, who may have very poor or low self-esteem, they take all of this in. You know, I don't want this video to be too long today. I just want you guys to think about peer pressure. When you hear peer pressure, it's not just the children. Peer pressure is evident amongst adults. Adults who suddenly become very envious of one another. Adults who for no reason just fall out. Friendships that have been forged over the years and for very simple reasons suddenly break up, and you find that the people in this friendship become very, very, you know, nasty towards each other and very unforgiving. You know, I want us to ponder on this thing. Life is very short. Life is beautiful. Life can be beautiful. You know, it doesn't matter what your shortcomings are. It doesn't matter how much insecurities you have about yourself, your body. You know, I've heard stories about even young girls feeling like they've got body dysmorphia, where they look at all these celebrities, they want to be thin, they want to have the Kim Kardashian pout, they want to wear the best, you know, extension, you know, all these things. Yes, they're beauty enhancing things, you know, but you know what? The real beauty comes from within you. The real beauty is who you are on the inside, what you're made up of on the inside. Beauty is not just on the outside. I'm going to leave us with this message today. Peer pressure is real. And parents, Africans, Nigerians, Zimbabweans, Ghanaians, I want you guys to go home today. Keep an eye out on peer pressure amongst your children. The signs are usually always there, and we're very prone to missing it, thinking, oh, she'll get over it. Oh, she'll just be moody. Sometimes that's not what it is. I'm not asking you to suddenly start being suspicious of your children. I just want us to keep an eye out as parents, as adults. And as for older people, we're all formed and set in our ways. We cannot change. I can't change an adult, but I can only encourage anyone who deep down has a soul search to understand that no matter what you are, you think you are, or you feel you are, no matter your shortcomings, you are beautiful, and you're beautifully and wonderfully made. Until I see you guys next week, please remember to subscribe, remember to leave a comment, remember to follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.